High school sports, we've got it covered. Overtime starts now.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome to the return of Overtime. I'm Scott Lever.
And I'm David Greenberg. 1 week from tonight, the high school football season kicks off. We spent the past 2 weeks covering football practices around the area. For the next half hour, we'll share what we've learned and let you know what you could expect this season as we touch on the 3 main local conferences and plenty more.
And what we can expect is the return of fall football. We are back to normal almost. It was only 4 months ago that the spring season ended. So how ready are teams to get right back at it, and how much easier or more challenging is it for them after a short off season?
We're probably a little bit of a luxury, only being 90 days off since the spring season, so it's nice for us because a lot of that stuff is fresh in their mind as opposed to being 8 months away from when we played again last.
With a shorter off season, we kind of got the plays already down from last season. It's just been a lot easier going into this season than it was last year.
A lot of the plays and all of the techniques, they're still pretty fresh, so honestly I think we're more prepared this season compared to other seasons.
I think it's a lot easier. I think the playbook's fresh in their minds. Years prior, we'd had to pick up the pieces, but now we just kind of hit the ground running after a quick turnaround.
Well, each Friday night at this time, we're going to be bringing you lots of action from around the state line. So what do you say we dive into some action right now? Several teams hosted public scrimmages or public practices this evening.
I was at Harlem for the Huskies' black and orange game. Started out with a special ceremony honoring last year's conference championship winning team, where members of the 2020 team received their conference championship ring. After they showed off their new bling, the team took to the field for some individual position drills. For the solid number of fans that were in attendance, Keyshawn Harrington McKinney showed off his D-line speed with this rip and pull drill. But the guy I found myself just standing and watching was new quarterback Austin Redmond. I watched him throw for a bit, and his arm talent is noticeable. I'm eager to see whether that will now translate into a real game situation, but this should be another outstanding season for the Huskies, and I am really looking forward to seeing what they've got.
Well, let's go to BOYLAN for the Titans green and white game. My scouting report on the student section, loud and extremely enthusiastic. Joey Apino is the Titans quarterback this season. The keeper, it's tough going against his own defense. Later, Apino will roll and throw, and he has Mark Harris for a big pickup. Well, the bulk of the ground yardage this season is going to come from young Mekhi Glover, or Mighty Mouse, some like to call him. Apino coming back with another pass on the out. Eric Brown has that one. Coach Cacciatore has some talent to work with again. We will be watching the Titans. And we are happy to welcome back Tim Bailey for his second season with us as our Nick 10 analyst. Tim's a former Nick 10 standout, a college football player, now the top trainer for Mercy Health Top Performers. And he has worked with almost all the top athletes in our area over the years, including Fred Van Vliet, Dean Lowry, and of course James Robinson. So Tim, Harlem's the defending Nick 10 champion. They lose James Cooper Jr., they lose those great receivers. Okay, can they absorb those losses and be right back in the hunt again this year?
Absolutely, Scott. I think they can be right in the hunt. In my eyes, they're top 3 in the conference for sure. With the departure of Robinson and those 2 phenomenal receivers from last year, McCarron and Jordan, the other receivers, somebody's got to step up. And I think this year with the new quarterback at the helm, I think he's going to do well. As you saw in the video here earlier, the kid's got a strong arm. It's just going to boil down to, how good is Harlem's offensive line this year to be productive on offense.
And the E-Rabs, they were in that Nick 10 championship game against the Huskies last season. How much of a factor can they be in the conference?
East is going to be tough. I think East is going to be one of those schools that we're going to be talking about for a long time. Coach Griffin and staff have done a phenomenal job over there, getting those guys prepared each and every year, making sure guys are eligible, which is huge in the district, and just making sure that they're, they want to get back to that E-Rab known to be school of a championship team. So, again, with the coaching staff over there, they've done a great job.
Yeah, they started something special last year, and they've got some serious athletes coming back this year. All right, Tim, let's talk about the BOYLAN Titans. We just saw a few clips of them. They've got some talent as usual, but they lost a ton of talent. So can they still be in the thick of it this year?
Absolutely. Again, when I talk about teams that we're going to be talking about for years to come, BOYLAN is definitely one of those teams. With what they have on offense with the Apino, And with Glover, I mean, that's a dynamic duo right there. You know, those are two special athletes that I think that are going to get it done on offense. They're going to be the true leaders of that Boylan Titan team. And they're going to play Boylan football. And I'm excited this year to see what they can bring to the table.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed with what I saw briefly tonight at the scrimmage out there. Joey Apino was rolling out. I can tell you this right now, folks. Joey Apino can not only throw, he can throw on the run.
Absolutely.
He's really smooth and fluid when he
great
rolls
athlete.
out of the pocket.
And especially the fact that this is going to be, what, his first year really playing quarterback for them?
Yeah.
So this is, that's something to take note of as well.
Absolutely.
Joey's just one of those great all-around athletes. He can shine at, you know, cornholing and you name it.
Right. Free sport athlete, football, baseball,
he
basketball.
has no choice. He's an Apino, too.
That's right. Apinos know how to do it. All right. Hey, we got a lot more ground to cover in the Nick 10 a bit later, so stick around, Tim, for that.
Yeah, and next up, we'll focus on the Big Northern Conference. Who are the favorites this year, and who are some of the key players? Don't go anywhere. You're watching Overtime.
Now, the Big Northern Conference was extremely balanced last spring. There wasn't that one or two dominant team or teams like we have seen from Byron in recent years and from Stillman Valley in years past.
Yeah, North Boone and Genoa Kingston both had outstanding season. There's no question. They were the top two teams, and most coaches that we've talked to believe the conference will be very competitive again this year.
You know, I could see that being the same. You know, I think there's a couple of teams that you look at that I think Genoa's going to be off the good, and Byron's going to be very, very good, I believe, as well.
Who knows? I mean, it's real hard to determine right now because we didn't see everybody. And, you know, I know Genoa Kingston returned some kids, and they should be solid. We had a great game with them. You know, we didn't play against Dixon. We didn't play against North Boone. I know they had great seasons. Obviously, Stillman, always in the mix. So it's hard to say.
All right, David, let's start with North Boone. The Vikings went 4-0 in the spring. They lost their great quarterback, Logan Emanuel. So who fills that spot now, and what pieces will he have around him?
Yeah, Scott, taking over the reins will be junior quarterback Chandler Alderman. He's every bit of 6'4" and has a cannon for an arm. He'll have stud wideout Will Dutch back as well. He had 10 touchdown catches in just 4 games last year. And Will's younger brother, Chris, who's a sophomore, he'll be their top running back. So North Boone, also, they've got a new head coach this year in Ryan Kelly. He's been on the staff the last several years, and he doesn't plan to change all that much, but the key will be Alderman at quarterback, and his teammates, they really believe in him.
Chandler's got the arm. Chandler's got everything Logan had, but just we got to teach him some. Get the ball out. Let's run it a little bit, throw the long ball, and see what we can do.
Well, the Byron Tigers look like they're going to be very strong again. They have experience at every position, including returning quarterback Braden Smith. Tailback Chandler Binkley is one of the top running backs in the conference. They have several other good backs, and they've got size and experience on the lines with Tyler Reed, Nick Brass, Josh Bianchi, Jake Lenz, and Jacob Kahn.
We got a lot of good athletes and a lot of people that have a good drive. We're ready to play hard and to hit some people.
Stillman Valley doesn't have a ton of size this year, but the Cardinals will have good overall speed. The big story with Stillman is how they'll replace 23 seniors who graduated from last spring.
It's tough to replace. You know, you got that many there, so it is what it is, though. You know, that's the thing about high school football. The thing's going to go on one way or the other, and so our now, you know, what was juniors now to be seniors. It's their turn now.
Well, Rockford Lutheran is starting fresh with a new head coach, Ron Gates. He's been an assistant coach at Lutheran in the past. The Crusaders have some interesting pieces like new quarterback King Hughes. He's only a sophomore, a dual threat type of kid. Jamari Pitts on the offensive line and at linebacker is an all-conference player. Jacoby Al-Rahimi at fullback and linebacker is another physical player. And Hunter Evans and Jermaine Ross will fortify the lines.
And Winnebago will rely heavily on a strong junior class that includes new quarterback Alec Weevil, plus two-way fullback and linebacker Will Speltz. And the Indians, they've got a do-it-all guy in senior Michael Cunningham. He's a running back, a cornerback, and quite possibly one of the best kickers in the state.
I guess I'm just a versatile player. I mean, I can do all 3 skills, defense, offense, and special teams. So I guess just to have someone like that.
Rockford Christian is back in the Big Northern this year in football. The Royal Lions played an NUIC schedule in the spring. The year before that, they were in the Northeastern Athletic Conference. Terry Gulley has taken over as head coach. The Royal Lions, they don't have a lot of depth. They have only 25 players in the program. Coach Gulley says they will continue to put the ball in the air a lot, just like recent Rockford Christian teams have done.
We're not very big, so we're not going to be able to push a lot of people around. So we're going to air it out, spread teams out, and quick passing game.
Well, these are the Week 1 matchups in the Big Northern Conference. Stillman Valley at BYRON, Oregon at Dixon, Genoa Kingston at Winnebago, North Boone at Lutheran, and Rockford Christian at Rock Falls.
Stick around, more Nick 10 talk is coming your way in a bit, but next we preview the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference.
Welcome back. No conference has changed more over the past year than the Northwest Upstate Illini Conference has. Almost half the schools have switched to 8-man football.
Yeah, Freeport, Aquin, Orangeville, Amboy, and Milledgeville are making the switch this year. In previous years, we saw Polo, River Ridge, and Ashton Franklin Center do the same. So instead of 2 divisions of teams in the NUIC, we'll see 1, and it'll be stacked.
But it gives us an opportunity to play teams that we may not have seen. We haven't seen Forest in a few years. Ultimately, it's going to be a bear of a conference. I mean, there you can't really take too many Friday nights off.
And it's kind of like the SEC now, with just week in and week out. You're gonna get everybody's best, and it's going to be a dogfight to the end.
A lot of rivalries were lost. Aquin had rivalries with a lot of teams. We had a good rivalry with Orangeville over the years, but it's made our 10-team conference extremely tough.
As usual, this conference will have some remarkable talent for such small schools, and as usual, the Leewin Panthers have more than their share of talent.
Yeah, that's for sure.
This will be one of Rick Aaron's fastest teams yet, if not the fastest. At the head of the class, senior running back Maury Roby there. He's healthy, he's ready, but he's one of only 8 or so backs the Panthers won't hesitate to use. And the Panthers are big in experience on the lines with all-conference linemen Ross Stabenow, Maddox Sargent, and Tyler Crowett.
Our core group of guys works harder than I've ever seen, and if anything, I think this is probably the fastest team I've been a part of. I know 2019 worked really fast, but this year, I know the coaches can agree with me that we're going to be flying around the field all year.
Well, if there's a team that has the talent to match up with the Panthers, it's the Dupec Rivermen. You start with talented third-year quarterback Hunter Hoffman. Then there's running back Trenton Taylor, receiver Trent Hetland. Drake Fortson's one of the best linebackers in the area, and Illinois State recruit Jake Anderson should be an absolute beast at defensive end. The Rivermen know they're a team everyone is going to be gunning for.
We kind of got a target on our back after the last 2 seasons, but our expectations are through the roof. They're trying to go undefeated this year, like always.
A new Forston head coach, Keenan Janicki, won't let the Cardinals slide. He has his guys pushing for the top. The Cardinals will emphasize the run as always with backs Jacobs Fiorello, Devontae King-Black, Tommy Apple, and Matthew Beltran. Logan Dyson takes over at quarterback. He's a bright kid. Mason Fox and Cole Becker are all conference linemen. So, yeah, the Cardinals will keep their opponents on their toes as always.
We've had a lot of success just in the last 10 years, starting with Coach Diddick and then going with Coach Zick. And so trying to follow in their footsteps and then also trying to put my own little stamp on it. It's going to be a unique challenge for sure.
The spring season was a disaster for Dakota through no fault of their own. COVID had limited them to 2 games, but in those 2 games, some young guys gained valuable experience. Speed is the word this year to describe Dakota. This could be the Indians' fastest team yet.
We're definitely going to be utilizing our speed more, and some of the things we're good at. We're a lot better in space, and we're a lot better with speed. You know, you're going to look at our roster come August and September and be like, man, they're not that big, but we can move.
Stockton went 3-3 in the spring. The Blackhawks returned quarterback Caleb Mamizer, running back Ian Brocious, tight end Austin Chumbler, and all-conference linemen Jamie Stocks and Austin Eisfeller.
We bring back some nice pieces on the offensive line, and we're young in a lot of spots, but that's one spot where I think our experience should help us. And if they can pave the way, literally pave the way, we're gonna be fine with some of the youth in other spots.
EPC is set at quarterback with one of the best all-around athletes in the conference in Kellen Enzi. He'll have some playmakers around him in Owen Rogers, Max McCullough, Riley Schauer, and Jackson Sturdivant.
I think we have a lot of playmakers, and I'm really confident in our offensive line. Up front, we got some big boys. I think they're going to really help us, give us time, make holes for the run game, and just overall make things easier for us on offense.
Opening night in the NUIC looks like this. Dupec at East Dubuque, Lena Winslow at EPC, Stockton at Forston, Fulton at Galena, and Dakota at Ottawa Marquette.
We're going to jump back to the Nick 10 next with more on some key players and more thoughts from our guy, Tim Bailey. If you've been with us since the beginning, we touched on BOYLAN, East, and HARLEM earlier. Now for the rest of the Nick 10.
Yeah, expectations are high at Hononegah, as usual, and for good reason. Their roster is stacked. Now, I expect this guy, Isaac Wizenan, to make a big step up. Now that he has some varsity experience, he was already dynamic in the spring, and he's surrounded by playmakers Bryce Goodwine, Stuart Hale, Dylan Sales, and as always, Hononegah has some big linemen up front. There's never a shortage of them at Hononegah. This is a team that should be shooting for the top. The offense should be dynamic.
I sure hope so. You know, we've got experience at quarterback and running back, and we've got our offensive line back. So I think, you know, we find a couple of receivers, and we've got some good young candidates right now. So I'm very optimistic that we can maintain that hopefully this season.
Auburn had a short spring season because of COVID. All-conference defensive back DeQuavion Oaks will lead the Knights. He'll also return kicks for them as well, and the Burnell brothers, Malachi and Caleb, will also be key players.
Jefferson could be ready to make a leap this season. 6'6" quarterback Nick James can air it out. Scott Garrett, Randy Johnson, and Tyler Gaines are explosive receivers. Look for the Jayhawks to throw a lot and keep defensive secondaries busy.
Belvedere North is ready to turn Mason Weckler loose at quarterback. He's the son of a coach, so you know he has an eye for the position. Tristan Powers brings some speed to the backfield. Jacob Booker and Aaron Winters will also be featured on both sides of the ball for the Blue Thunder.
I am looking forward to watching the Freeport Pretzels play this season. They should be a fast break team. 6'6" Xavion Segner could blossom at quarterback in his second season. He has the Jackson brothers, Tyrone and Denarius, to hand the ball to, and super sophomores Diedrich Macon and Ryan Kuhn will be impact players. This might be the year the Pretzels get back into the playoff mix. All right, 2 Nick 10 schools have new head coaches this year. Tim Bailey rejoins us to discuss them. One is Belvedere. Tim, Tony Ambrosio takes over there, former Lutheran, Jefferson Christian Life head coach. Belvedere's really struggled in recent seasons, so can he turn this program around? How can he turn it around?
Well, you know, as a head coach, you know, your objective is to turn a program around that's suffering. And I think, you know, he had a tough time at Jefferson turning the program around. Went 1-17 in his 2 years at Jefferson, then goes over to Lutheran and was 5-4 his first year. And then with the actual spring season, he was 2-1. So, you know, in my eyes, you know, I'd like to see him, you know, stay put and build the program, so to speak. You know, for whatever reason he left Lutheran and went over to Belvedere, that's great. But at some point in time, he has to show the people in the community and the people in the conference that he's a great coach. He can build programs.
Well, he likes Belvedere a lot. He's got a lot of ties to that community. So I think he is more than ready to put down roots there and be there for the long haul.
Absolutely.
And at Guilford, they also have a new head coach as well, Tony Capriati. What does he have to do to help get the Vikings back into contention, into playoff mix with at Guilford?
Well, I think first of all, I think, you know, playoffs should be secondary. I think right now it's looking at, you know, he needs to come in and build a foundation. He needs to start at the grassroots levels. He needs to get into the middle schools and get to know those kids, because some of those kids will now then become Guilford Vikings one day down the road. But also, too, you know, getting to know his freshman class better, getting those kids on board, because that's the future. And you always want, as a head coach, what you want to do, you always want to get those kids on the right page, get them going in the right direction. So once they become varsity athletes, I think, you know, you'll have a little bit more to play with, so to speak, of having success.
I was at their practice yesterday. He's definitely got some talent and some size there to work with. So they've got an opportunity to step it up. All right, Tim, now give us your top 5 top performers, kids that you were so excited to watch in the Nick 10 this season.
Well, my top 5 top performers, I mean, you know, starting off with just Isaac Wizenan, the quarterback for Hononegah. I mean, this kid's going to light the scoreboard up. I like what he does at the quarterback position. He's a true leader. Bryce Goodwine, Hononegah running back. He plays a little slot. He punts. He returns kickoffs. I mean, I call this guy Mr. Do-It-All.
He does everything.
You know, he's going to have a great year. Joey Pino, I mean, what can you say about the kid? Sharp kid. You know, great athlete, does everything, you know, a coach asks you to do. A true leader. You know, he's going to actually light the scoreboard up this year too. So Mekhi Glover. You know, this is a kid that's his stock continues to rise each and every year. You know, he was a decent running back last year, but you know, the more and more I watch film on this guy, the more and more I fall in love with his game because he's just so elusive when he gets into the open field. And then last year, Kashawn McKinney at Harlem D tackle. I mean, this guy can go from sideline to sideline. Had an opportunity to watch some really good film on him, like what he does defensively, getting his hands, getting his paws on the guy, shedding a block, and then just being able to get from sideline to sideline is huge. So, you know, I like that top performance, top 5 right there. And again, I may have left some guys out. If I left you out, I'm sorry, but you know, as of right now, these are my top 5.
Okay, and you have some sleepers for us too. You got another list for us.
Absolutely, my sleepers go as follows. Deterius Dotson. I mean, this guy is he's just so elusive in open field. I had an opportunity to work with him, you know, this off season when the East Side came over to the facility for some training. Just a guy, young kid, works hard. He's a wrestler as well. This guy gets in open field. He's got a gear that you've never seen before. I mean, he could be definitely a good kid to come. Bryce Walker, Guilford quarterback, another great guy. He's going to be a sleeper. Shamar Holt, East defensive back. Donovan Hansard, BOYLAN running backs. He's only a sophomore. And then lastly but not least, Austin Redmond, Harlem quarterback. So those are my sleepers.
Definitely some names to watch. All right, Tim, we'll see you again next Friday. Thanks for your input. We'll be right back.
Thanks, Tim.
Join us here every Friday. That's our show.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.